100 years from now, I would see us living in a totally different way, because I believe possibly our atmosphere will be unbreathable. We'd be having to live with face masks on or in glass tubes. The survivors of whatever apocalypse will happen, because I do believe that will happen. And I think technology will be more advanced, but I think most people will be living in space. I don't think they'll be living on the Earth. They'll be building space stations soon for people to live on, in the hope that they will be moved to another planet, because our planet may be uninhabitable.
I was sitting in a devastated world. There was ash, smoke, and annihilation all around me. And I sat with a young boy and on one knee and a young girl on the other knee, and they were covered in dust and ash and crying, very unhappy. And they both looked at me and looked at this devastation, and they said, "Why?" And then I woke up. And to this day, it's a hard question to answer.
I, the god, son of gods, was sent on a journey to the source. My lords asked me to find the purest and to infuse it with life. I found it. It was fresher than mountain and clearer than rain. I gave it a shape and called it Earth. Then I had to give it to the humans. They were waiting, ready to start peaceful and harmonious life. But where were they? What did they look like? I thought they were impatient. Did they go to another place? Did they find another time to live in? I saw their marks on the ground, but still couldn't see anyone. There was one lost. I thought he was looking for the earth. I told him, "Here is the earth. Take it and share it with the others. It's for you." But he remained lost. I continued, hoping to find more humans soon. But I found something else. They had created their own world. They had their own reality, and had no time for me. What was I supposed to do? Go back? Or try harder in their world? I was confused. Finally, I found one fresh and young human who was ready to take care of my earth and share it with his kind. At the beginning, they were scared. It seemed to be a big challenge for their busy lifestyle. Were they scared and confused? Or was I blind to see their love for Earth? Then they discovered money and formed a little business with my Earth. Yes, my Earth. The one I selected carefully and filled with life was an object of trade. Why? It was supposed to be shared in love and peace. Did I miss something? They organized them in groups and helped each other to make more money. Why did they need money? I gave them the best. What more would this money give them?
You guys want some free sweets? We'll be on TV.
What's that? Technical challenge problem.
You gotta take this and
All right.
we'll be on TV.
What is it for?
And you get some free sweets.
All right, well,
Enjoy. Talk to these guys.
we like the
They're lovely
environment.
people.
The environment is good.
Okay, so we're doing an experiment to see if people can share the earth, and the earth is represented by the soil.
Wicked.
So the idea is for you to give it to someone else who would be willing to share the earth with you.
I want to see this video.
How about you, my lady? You want to share some earth with me?
I'll share some earth with you.
I'll give you candy. It's all about sharing. Environment is sharing.
I'll share it.
And sharing is caring. Do you know what? If I give you
Oh, I've got
this,
the whole lot there.
you get that, and I take half of it.
Okay, we've shared it.
If you put that in your soil at
Now I'll
home,
have to... Yeah.
you also get a candy. There we go.
Well done.
That's one share, so if the rest can do that, that would be brilliant.
No, I got
Cool.
But you
I'll
still
give
got
it-
some. You still gotta get rid of that.
it. They just want
Well, I'll
you
take
have
that to
to
my
shoot.
store. Where do you want me to put it? In my pocket?
Why
It's not going to grow in my pocket, but I can put it in the soil and that will grow.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't it?
What are you gonna do with that?
Well, I'm growing tomatoes at home, so I'll put it in my with my tomatoes then. If I can use it in my home and then replace it out again, then it will be, you know, a circle of life. But if I don't do that, that will be the same thing as, you know, the rest of the things happening in the world, which means that everyone is just taken from everyone and nobody's giving anything. Nobody's caring. Nobody's actually helping out each other. That's the biggest problem in the world today, is that nobody's actually scratching each other's backs on their friend or their family and so on and so on. It's all about greed. Unfortunately, this, for me, is greed. It has nothing to do with life, this. It's all about greed, because that's how the world works today. But how about we put it back into the soil where this tree is planted? Because that is the same thing as giving back to nature again. It's a growing green area in the city to show that there is a little bit of green left. So...
And so, this is where my Earth resides. Trapped in the cage of the human jungle.
I can't imagine there'd be many people watching.
if the human race was near to extinction. I don't imagine the human race really just coming to an end like that. I think it'll be like a long, drawn out.
And the reason for that would be?
Resources, because if it's going to be resources and people are going to be fighting over what's left, essentially.
So in 100 years' time, there will not be much trace of modern technology. It will all be wiped away by nuclear destruction or something like that. And there'd be a small amount of people somewhere on the earth that have to start all over again.
I don't think nuclear war can be prevented by the governments or the people. It will be down to the military. We have within the world today more than enough firepower, nuclear armaments, technology, where we specialise in killing each other, as perhaps the Bible describes Armageddon, where these great armies are going to come together and they're just going to have so much firepower that eventually there will be just an unleashing of all this firepower that you could no longer control it. It will just rain, fire.
Looking at the future, yes, it's bleak. But without warfare, if we have the ecological disaster, which is possible in so many different ways, imagine myself as a journalist looking at the last little while. I'm here going over the human race's possibly last days, possibly last hour. This once beautiful green and blue planet is now darkened with dust. In fact, the sky, once blue and beautiful, is now a horrible orange-red colour, tinged with a wonderful dark grey black ash. Most of the planet is now covered in water. The water isn't healthy. Once blue, maybe green, now is almost black. Most of the life is gone from it. We saw the last of the big mammals killed some years ago, and now we are losing most of the land plants. Most of the land animals, in fact, already gone. The human race, as it does, tried initially to help with this disaster, but as time's gone on, we've actually made it an awful lot worse. Desperation, of course, leads humans to fight humans over the little remaining resources. Many people have fought wars. The wars were local and small to begin with. They became major as time went on. Nuclear weapons were used, ironically, not so much against other countries as on their own people. The governments in desperation saw city after city collapse into total chaos. They sent the army in. When the police force collapsed, there weren't enough even of the army to control the population. So they turned their desperate efforts to the nuclear weapons. Many cities on the planet were vaporized in this fashion. The remaining people moved off into the countryside. Some tried to make a living in what was a collapsing civilization and a collapsing environment. Unfortunately, most crops failed to grow. Hardly surprising, as the air temperature varied from terribly cold in the winters to extremely hot in the summer. The desertification continued, most of the forest died, and the oxygen levels continued to deplete. We are now looking apparently at the last throes of life on Earth. It saddens me beyond belief, because I always thought there was a chance humanity would get things right. Apparently now it's far too late. They tried a few times to get a colony going on the moon. As things got worse on Earth, even this collapsed. They couldn't be supplied, so they couldn't feed themselves, they couldn't supply themselves because the establishment of the colony on the moon was too late. So they failed also. We're now limited on the one planet where we started, and I'm afraid this is where we're going to end. This report, I don't even know why I'm making it really. I'm looking at the death of the human race, the death of so many species. I don't know, what should we do? Send the tape off into space and hope some intelligent creature somewhere finds it and maybe learns from our mistakes not to make the same ones themselves. God only knows. I don't even know why I said that, because I don't even know if I believe in God. Certainly, the way things have gone with the human race now, it looks pointless. Why worry about the afterlife when we've devastated one that was so precious and so beautiful on this planet?
It's going to be rocks, brown rocks, grey. Not a lot of life. Presumably quite dark. Dish that trapped, that caught the sun's energy. So like a big solar panel. It'd be somewhere on the equator for the sun, where the sun's energy is at its highest. And it somehow converted that into oxygen to keep the planet oxygenated. So we have designed man-made engines to keep us alive, as opposed to the natural way that we should be kept alive. We pollute the atmosphere, cutting the sunlight out, and there'll just be one place left where the sunlight still comes through, and this big machine provides energy to feed plants.
But somewhere, somehow, something genetically survived, and the world reprocessed itself and rebuilt itself again.
I don't see the Earth free of human race. No, I don't. There's always going to be some people, but maybe different to what we are now, because we evolved quickly, and we might be slightly different looking than what we are now.
The human body and the human mind will adapt to its new environment. And so we will become not as we are now, but you can almost imagine some kind of alien creature.
You see, I believe in UFOs because I've seen them. I've seen many UFOs in my life. So I know that they are beings, they're intelligently operated craft with beings in. They're coming back for a reason. They're not from the Earth now, but they may have been millions of years ago. They've evolved into something different, are more of a spiritual beings. But they come to Earth maybe to monitor our progress. Maybe they are literally the gods. Modern science has no place for God, but that's because they're looking too far away. They're not seeing the real picture. They're not looking close to home in a logical way regarding the laws of physics. They're not seeing us moving away, developing something else, different technologies in spacecraft and coming to Earth. They see God as just one man in the sky. Impossible. We know that. Well, I know that, but lots of religious people don't. They don't actually think what they're doing. But if you get an intelligent race of beings that were once human, out in space, developed technology, conquered time travel, they could be hundreds of light years away, visit Earth, make stations to monitor us. They watch us, see what's going on. They might be saying, they might come to give us a doctrine to live by. They might give us a book and say, you have to live like this, otherwise you will destroy yourself. That's what may have happened in the past. Maybe Moses was given such a book by gods, people who came that had been here before, that knew what would happen. So maybe that's what happens. Or maybe we are an experiment. Maybe we are treated like animals by higher scientists, like the fishbowl theory, where we all fish in a bowl, and we're being watched by lots of people who like to see what we're doing, put some food in the top, watch us, see what we do, maybe write down what we're doing. Maybe that's what's happening, because after all, we are scientific, and we are so scientific that maybe we have got that from somewhere else within our genetic makeup. It's not a product of nature, natural evolution from Earth. I believe it's a product from gods, intelligent beings who knew we were going to be like them, because it says in the holy books we will become like gods ourselves. So somebody in the distant past knew that we were going to evolve and become technologically advanced. They knew that we were going to leave this Earth in spacecraft, which we do now to some extent. People can live out space. So where's the next step? Another planet. When we're on another planet, we will want to come back to the survivors of the Earth and say, this, do this. You know, we will have power, and they will class us as gods. So I think that's probably what will happen, and the reason why they will come back, to make sure we're okay, to monitor us, or to harvest us even in the future, or harvest our souls if we have progressed spiritually.
In my opinion, and in the opinion of lots and lots of people, we are spiritual beings who have come to this planet to experience different things, to learn lessons and so on and so forth. The challenge is that when we come here, we actually forget who we are. So we think we're just flesh and blood. And there's also fear, because of course flesh and blood dies. So there's a whole thing around death that's going on, people being scared of how they're going to die and the fact that that's it. When people understand that they are a spiritual being with power in themselves to create through their thinking, then the fear goes away. And then they don't have to be greedy, because then they recognise that there is an abundance of everything available to them. So they don't need to be fighting each other.
Even if we had unlimited resources, there would still be some people that would be greedy enough to take everything if they could. The problem is, even if we have it unlimited, there is nothing as unlimited, because every time there is something that is unlimited, it becomes limited because you have all the people coming in to take it instead of sharing, and then it becomes limited again.
Then the problem is in our head, mental, in our cult, like
I think it's in our culture. If you look on South America, if you look on Africa and the people living in Africa and South America, there are a lot more helping and giving to each other. But then again, there are unfortunately poorer countries and poorer people. But it seems like poorer people have more of helping in them, in the way of help your closest one or your neighbor. Because you're poor, you have other values. You don't go after money or richness or anything. You go for happiness, friends and family. When you're rich, you have nothing of those three. Your friends are using you for your money. Your family already has money. You probably don't have the good connection with your family because you are quite rich. You can do what you want. You kind of push the family away, I think. But most of the friends around you are phonies. They don't love you for the person you are. They love you for the money you have. If you're poor, you have nothing else to show for except your friendliness and your givingness to the next person next to you. And then it becomes suddenly original and real instead of fake. So I think the biggest problem is that people are, as I said, too greedy and they won't share. That's the biggest problem we have.
If we look at the dinosaurs, they became extinct 65 million years ago. They'd been around for 200 million years. They'd had a long history, but they apparently didn't develop technology. They didn't have our sense. They had no choice when the asteroid hit them, when they became extinct. This extinction we're facing isn't necessarily from an asteroid. It's almost certainly from our own doings. If we wreck this planet, if we wreck this environment, we will become extinct. And we've got no excuse for that. We are intelligent enough to know what's coming. We are intelligent enough to do things differently. We are brainy enough to avoid what's going to come. If we don't get things right, if we don't look after this planet and ourselves and our other people, we will become extinct. The choice is us. The choice is with us. The choice is ours. The human race either grows up or becomes extinct. That is our choice.
The spirit of who we are is eternal. It can't die. The body dies, but the spirit doesn't die. It just changes form. So as soon as you die, as soon as you drop the body, the spirit escapes, and it can move at the speed of light. So it's not a problem from the spirit's perspective if it dies, or when it dies, because it will still live on anyway. And consciousness is eternal. We are eternal.